Good morning, my dear students. I am Dr. Deepak More, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Sanjeevanee Mahavidyalaya Chapoli, Taluka Chakur, District Latur, Maharashtra State. Today, we are going to study about a short story named Search for a Stranger, written by Gordon Livingston. Then about the author, part first of the story indicates Dr. Gordon Livingston, a Colombian psychiatrist and author, was born in Memphis, Tenn. He was the son of Stanson Livingston, an orthopedic surgeon and Veterans Administration hospital chief, and his wife Bonnie Kagan. He graduated from the United States Military Academy and became an infantry officer in the military hospital. His first book, Only Springs, deals with the death of his 6-year-old son from leukemia. The Thing You Think You Cannot Do is a very outstanding book about developing personal virtues. It is his great book. Besides, he has also published the bestseller Too Soon Old, Too Late Smart about the inspirational truths in life. These are two books are based on his inspirational truth in life. His first book, And Never Stop Dancing, discloses or presents the roadblocks and the surprises of life. That is based on the roadblock and various surprises of his life. Then about the introduction of Search for a Stranger, written by Gordon Livingston. The present story, named Search for a Stranger, written by Gordon Livingston, deals with the relationship that can exist between strangers. Many a time people meet strangers and later they realize that they are very close to them. It is actually the story of the author's search for his own mother because he is an orphan boy. He feels that his mother is a stranger since he was adopted and did not know the truth of dual identity until he was 30 years old. The story's short story, Search for a Stranger. In this story, the first context of the story, the writer tells to the audience that the present short story, Search for a Stranger, explores the relationships that can exist between strangers. This short story, Search for a Stranger, written by Gordon Livingston, is actually the search by the author for his mother. He feels that his mother is a stranger since he was adopted and did not know the truth till he was 38 years old. Then, in the next para of the short story, the writer addresses that the author is a child psychiatrist working in Colombia. That is, Colombia. It is the residential place which it was existed in United States of America. The author tells us about what happened to him the previous summer. One day his cousin asked. Then the author tells us about what happened to him the previous summer. One day his cousin asked him about his work. The author told about a conference which he had attended on adopted children. The difficulties faced by adopted children had been discussed in that conference. These children needed professional help to overcome the emotional problems they faced. One of the emotional problems was the feeling of a double identity. If a child wanted to know about his her natural parents, the law did not help them. The courts usually sealed the adoption records. An adopted child usually felt bad when they could not easily find out about their truth. They feel that there is something shameful about them when they find out that their births have been kept a secret. Then, in the next context of the short story, the writer suggests us that the cousin wanted to know why an adopted child should know about its adoption. The author says that the child should know the truth from its adopted parents. If the child learns the truth of its adoption from other people, that she is adopted, then there can be a psychological damage. The author's fourth child, Michael, whose name is Michael, is adopted, and he had told him the truth. The cousin then asked as to what he would do if he knew that he was an adopted child. The question was raised. The author replied that he would start searching for his natural parents. The cousin immediately asked him to start searching for his parents. The author thought that his cousin was joking, but slowly he realized that he was speaking the truth. He was an adopted child. In another context of the short story, the author felt very bad that he had not been told the truth for so long. He was 38 years old. He could not face the truth. Till now, he had thought his adopted parents were his natural parents. He had been thinking that he was Scottish Irish. Many questions arose in the author's mind. He was suddenly experiencing the problems that an adopted child experienced when she found the truth. He asked his adopted father as to why he had hidden the truth from him. He says that he was afraid that he might have liked to see his natural parents. They were afraid of loss him. The author assures his adopted father that he would always consider him and mom as his parents. His adopted mother had died a year ago. The author then starts his search for his natural parents. In the next context of the short story, the author was born on June 30, 1938. When he had been adopted, his parents had been living in the city of Detroit. They had come along with their friends, the Martins, who had also adopted a child. He had been adopted from an agency in Memphis, Tennessee. The author made telephone calls to the Martins and found out that he had been adopted from the Tennessee Children's Home Society. The author wanted permission from the Tennessee Department of Public Welfare to see the records of the Children's Home Society. Since all adoption records were sealed by law, permission was denied by the court, by the law also. In this context, the writer suggests us that Gordon left his adoptive father on his permission and flew to Memphis to find the record in the Memphis City Hall. Every American town has a liberty and a reading hall. He then rushed to a local newspaper office and asked for its old issues. The front page story of a newspaper revealed that the director had been selling children for high fees and making money. So, she sold the babies of unwaived mothers, prostitutes, and mental patients. So, the home had been closed. The author wondered to which category he belonged to. He engaged a local lawyer to help him in his search. The next day, the lawyer found out that the author's birth name was Donald Alfred Cardell. His sealed records were in the Memphis courthouse. The next morning, the author and his lawyer went to the courthouse and requested to see the records. The records were given to him. His adoption decree was signed on August 17, 1940. His mother's name was Anne Simons Cardell. The records stated that the father had abandoned the child. The author asked for a copy. The clerk realized that the author was holding his adoption decree. She took the adoption decree from him and said that he had to get the permission of the judge for a copy. The author's lawyer brought forth that his mother had been a school teacher from Mississippi. In the remaining context of the short story of Search for a Stranger, Gordon Livingston addresses to us that the author left his parents to his colleagues and then flew to Memphis. He could not find any record in the Memphis City Hall. Every American town has a liberty and a reading hall. He then went to a local newspaper office and asked for its old issues. He found out that children's home had been closed in 1950. The director had been selling the children. The children were usually the children of unwaived mothers. These children from prostitutes, these children from mental patients. The author wondered to which category his mother belonged. The author engaged a local lawyer to help him in his search. The next day, the lawyer found out that the author's birth name was Donald Alfred Cardell. Donald Alfred Cardell. His sealed records were in the Memphis courthouse. In the next morning, the author and his lawyer went to the courthouse and made a request to see the records. The records were given to him. His adoption decree was signed on the 17th of August 1940. His mother's name was Anne Simons Cardell. The record stated that his father had abandoned the child. The author asked for a copy. The clerk realized that the clerk from the court who was realized that the author was holding his adoption decree. She took the adoption decree from him and said that he had to get the permission of the judge for copy. The author's lawyer found out that his mother had been a school teacher from Mississippi. According to Gordon Livingston, in the next para of the short story, the author flew to Jackson, the capital city of Mississippi, and found his mother's name in the academic records of the Department of Education. She had completed her master's degree in education in the year 1952. The author made a phone call to the college alumni office. They informed him that they had received a letter from Miss Cardell 10 years ago from a place called Netchuse. He found the name of Alfred Cardell Jr. in the phone book. He made a phone call to Alfred and found that Anne Cardell was his aunt. He told the author that Anne Cardell was living in Savannah. It is the location in United States of America. Then in the next para of the short story, the writer suggests that the author flew to Savannah and called up Anne Cardell. He told her that he was her son and that he would like to meet her. She invited him to her home. Anne Cardell, his mother, was an elderly lady above 60 years of age. She served him coffee. She then began to tell the author about his birth. She had been born in a farming family in Mississippi. She had fallen in love with a handsome man who was a good dancer. He was 28 years old then. When she was pregnant, she has requested him to marry her. But he had gone away. An unmarried pregnant lady was not respected in Mississippi. That is why she had gone to Memphis to have the baby. In this manner, the author was born. It is the whole background of the author. The author felt he was listening to his life history. He sympathized with his mother. His father had died of cancer 3 years ago. His mother also told him how she kept in touch with him. She had a unique way of keeping track of him through her students. She would assume her students to be her son. When she comforted a child, she felt as if she were comforting her own child, the author. He regrets again and again. He took an example of various children. Then at that time, she found her own baby among these children when she taught them. When she knew that the author would be in the 3rd grade, she applied for a transfer to that grade. She took the 3rd class for her teaching due to her children. By doing this, she felt that she was close to her son. But then she felt that she was becoming selfish. She wanted to see him as a man. She was proud that he was now sitting in front of her. She asked for forgiveness. She was regretting again and again. She asked herself for forgive nature also. She held out her arms. She held her arms again and again The author touched his mother for the first time in the last 38 years. It is the concluding part of also. Then, in the concluding part of the short story, she forgave again and again. The author went and touched his mother. It was for the first time in 38 years that he was doing so. Thus, the author opened the secret of an adopted child's life. In this way, the author of the story unfolded the secret of an adopted child's life. This is a breathtaking and traumatic record of real life experiences of an orphan of the author also. To conclude, the present short story named Search for a Stranger is written by Gordon Livingston, who was a Colombian psychiatrist and author. The story deals with the relationship that can exist between strangers. It is actually the story of the author's search for his own mother. He feels that his mother is a stranger since he was adopted and did not know the truth of dual identity until he was 38 years old. One day, author's cousin asked him about his work. The author told him about a conference on adopted children, the difficulties faced by adopted children, the emotional problem of the feeling of double identity, etc. It were discussed in the conference, and it was concluded that the adopted children require professional assistance to overcome emotional problems they confront. When the cousin asked about why the adopted child went to know about her adoption or his adoption, the author told him if the child know about his her adoption from other people, there was a psychological damage. The child wanted to meet his her natural parents. The cousin asked him if he knew that he was an adopted child, that the question was raised. What he would do? The author replied that he would start searching for his natural parents. The author's cousin told him that he was an adopted child of his parents. The author felt bad that he had not been told the truth until at the age of 38 years old. The author asked his adopted father as to why he had hidden the truth from him. He says that he was afraid that he might have liked to see his natural parents. His adopted parents were afraid of losing him. Thus, the author's adoptive father not tell the writer about his history. It is the ending point of our short story. Thank you very much.